The iPhone 17e is one of those phones that makes you ask a very simple question. What exactly counts as a budget phone anymore? Because Apple wants this phone to feel like the affordable way into the Apple ecosystem, but $600 is not cheap. Most people would not consider that a budget device price tag. It's like Apple saying, hey, we removed a few things and would still like you to clap. And after using the iPhone 17e for a week, I think I finally understand what this phone is. This is not the exciting iPhone. This is not the iPhone for tech nerds, or ironically enough, not for people who look up tech reviews on YouTube or are watching this video. This is the iPhone for people who want just enough Apple to be happy and not enough Apple to be completely broke. And honestly, that makes it way more interesting than I expected. Because after 1 week, this phone is both better than I thought it would be and also exactly as annoying as Apple needed it to be, so you'd consider spending more for the regular iPhone 17. So is the iPhone 17e actually worth buying? Let's start with the design. At first glance, the iPhone 17e looks clean, like aggressively clean. One camera, flat sides, aluminum frame, matte back, no visual drama, no camera island, no weird design experiment. And actually, I kind of like that. This phone feels simple in a good way. It's light, compact, and very easy to use one-handed, and after carrying around giant Pro Max phones and foldables and Ultra phones, and every other premium slab that feels like it was designed by a gym bro, the 17e is actually very refreshing. The build itself is fantastic. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel hollow. It doesn't feel like some fake entry iPhone that was built to be disposable. But then you look at the front, and yeah, that notch is still here. And yes, I know there is somebody in the comments already typing, but bro, who cares? It's just a notch, get over it. And fair enough, most normal people probably don't care, but in 2026, it absolutely makes this phone feel older than it should. It's not ugly, it just feels dated. It's like Apple reached into the archive, dusted it off, and said, it still works. One nice thing though is that MagSafe is finally here. And thank goodness, because leaving MagSafe out before felt cheap in the worst way possible. This makes the 17e feel much more complete. Wallets, chargers, mounts, stands, it just matters so much in your day-to-day use. So overall, the design is a mix, comfortable, lightweight, practical, and clean, but not exactly fresh and a complete redesign. Now let's talk about the display, because this is where Apple starts playing some games. The actual panel quality is good, colors look great, content looks clean, it still has that classic iPhone display tuning where everything looks natural and polished. So if you just glance at it, you might think, okay, well, what's the problem? Then you scroll, and there it is, 60 Hz. Still at $600. And listen, this is where Apple loses me a little. Can you live with 60 Hz? Yes. Will many regular people be totally fine with it? Also, yes. Does it still make this phone feel less premium every single day? Absolutely yes. Because the chip is fast, the software is polished, the phone itself is very responsive, but the display keeps reminding you, nope, you are not going to get the full experience with this phone. There's also no always-on display, which again, some people won't care about, but stacked on top of the notch and the 60 Hz, it becomes part of a pattern. This screen is not bad, it's just intentionally held back. Brightness is fine, outdoors I didn't have major issues, but this is definitely not the kind of display that makes you go, wow. It's more like, yep, this is definitely an iPhone screen, sharp enough, bright enough, and just underwhelming enough to remind you Apple knows exactly how little it can give you to get your money. Now performance is where the 17e starts making way more sense, because this phone is crazy fast, like actually fast. Apps open quickly, switching between apps is just as fluid as my Pro Max. Gaming is easy, the phone never feels weak, it never feels like it's trying to catch up. And that's one of the biggest advantages here. A lot of mid-range phones feel mid-range. This does not. This feels like Apple took a flagship brain and put it in a phone that they strategically nerfed everywhere else. And in real life, it just works. Because if you plan on keeping a phone for years, performance matters way more than people think. think. A phone that feels quick today and still feels quick later is a big deal. Now, yes, the 60Hz display, like we just talked about, does hold this phone back on how smooth it looks, but the actual processing power is still here and it's not a problem at all. If anything, the 17E's chip is almost too good for the rest of the phone. It's almost like Apple put a really good engine in a car and then limited the seats just to remind you where you are in the lineup. But day-to-day use, absolutely zero complaints from me. And battery life after 1 week has actually been one of my favorite things about this phone. This is the kind of battery experience that regular people are going to love. It's dependable, it's stress-free, it gets through a full day easily, and depending on your use, you can definitely push past 1 day. This is not a phone that constantly has you glancing at the battery percentage like you're monitoring a patient. Now, how about the charging? Well, it's still very Apple, which means not slow enough to be tragic, but nowhere near impressive. Wire charging is fine, wireless with MagSafe is also nice, but this is not one of those phones that's going to wow you with the top-up speed. So battery life, it's very, very good, but charging speed, well, you'll survive, but not much more than that. And then there's the camera situation, which on paper looks almost insulting. One rear camera, that's it. And in 2026, I'm not gonna lie, that immediately sounds like the kind of spec choice that you make when you want the comment sections to do cardio. But here's the thing, the main camera is actually good. Daylight photos look nice, colors are pleasing, detail is strong, portraits come out very well, and Apple still does that thing where the camera feels reliable even when the hardware sounds a little bit underwhelming for the price. This is not the most versatile camera setup, but it is a dependable one. And for the people buying this phone, that probably matters more. The 2x crop is useful too. It's not a real telephoto replacement, but it gives you enough flexibility that the phone doesn't feel completely limited. Video is also one of the strongest parts of this phone. It still feels like iPhone video. It's stable, clean, you get reliable focus, nice exposure, good dynamic range, and just really easy results that you can share around. And that's important because there are more phones with more cameras that still don't give you this kind of consistency. But I'm still not letting Apple off the hook here, because the missing ultra-wide camera is the biggest practical weakness on this device. You don't care about ultra-wide until you do. Group shots, indoor spaces, travel, buildings, creative angles, whatever it is, that's the kind of stuff where you suddenly realize, oh, right, I don't have an ultra-wide lens. And that's what makes this camera setup feel more limited than weak. The main camera is actually and legitimately good, but the missing flexibility is the real problem here. And software is one of the biggest reasons why the 17E is easy to recommend, because even though this is the cheaper iPhone, it still feels like a real iPhone. You still get iOS, you still get the Apple ecosystem, you still get Apple Intelligence features, you still get the long software update support, you still get things like AirDrop, FaceTime, iMessage, parental controls, emergency features, the whole package. And that's where the 17E becomes very easy to understand. This phone is not trying to win over enthusiasts. It's trying to be the safe recommendation for somebody who wants the Apple experience without entering the 4-digit price tag territory. And in that role, it makes a lot of sense. Still, Apple absolutely reminds you that you bought the cheaper phone. No dynamic island, no camera control button, which actually might be a positive for you. No ProMotion, no always on display. Luckily, you still get the action button that you can use to customize the different actions. So yes, the software is strong, but the hardware choices around it are constantly whispering, you almost paid enough. So after 1 week, I think the iPhone 17E is for a very specific person. This is for someone who wants a new iPhone, good battery life, strong performance, good video, long software support, and a familiar Apple experience. That person probably doesn't care much about 120 Hz. They probably are not obsessing over the bezel size. They're probably not zooming into test shots at 300% zoom. They just want a phone that works and will keep working. For that person, the 17E is actually a pretty great option. But for the enthusiast, for the person who notices displays, for the person who wants camera flexibility, for the person who is already spending this much and wants the phone to feel current, that's where this gets to be a harder recommendation from me. Because the regular iPhone 17, exists. And the closer that this phone gets to that conversation and the 17 price tag, the more complicated this conversation gets. Because once you start saying, well, maybe I should just save a little bit more, Apple has already won. Let me know what you think down below. Would you buy the iPhone 17e, or would you just save up a little bit more and go straight for the regular 17? If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Also hit that hype button to help this video reach new viewers like yourselves, and I will see all of you next time.